The 1979 United States of America $1 coin is part of the first year of issue for the Susan B. Anthony (SBA) dollar, a coin introduced to modernize U.S. currency, reduce production costs associated with the large Eisenhower dollars struck from 1971 to 1978, and honor one of the most influential figures in the American women's suffrage movement. The mint mark indicates that this coin was struck at the San Francisco Mint, which in 1979 produced both business strikes, intended for circulation, and proof strikes, intended for collectors, each with distinct characteristics that affect desirability, value, and classification. The obverse of the coin features a sharp, right-facing portrait of Susan B. Anthony, designed by chief engraver Frank Gasparo, along with the inscriptions Liberty above her head, In God We Trust to the right, and the date 1979 beneath the bust, while the mint mark appears just above Anthony's shoulder, close to the rim. Gasparo sought to capture her strong facial features and determined expression to symbolize leadership and civil rights activism, and while the portrait was well-intentioned, the coin soon became controversial. Its small, nearly circular shape and 11-sided interior border, and hendecagon design element, caused it to be confused frequently with the quarter for both size and color. On the reverse, Gasparo reused his celebrated design from the Eisenhower dollar, an American bald eagle landing on the moon, clutching an olive branch in its talons, inspired by the Apollo 11 mission patch designed by astronaut Michael Collins. This scene is encircled by the national motto E Pluribus Unum, the issuing nation United States of America, and the denomination $1. All arranged to create a sense of symmetry, grandeur, and continuity with previous dollar coins. One of the most significant aspects of the 1979 dollar is the existence of two major proof mint mark varieties, the Type 1 filled mint mark, in which the S appears blob-like and less sharply defined due to excessive polishing of the mint mark punch, and the Type 2 clear S, or open mint mark, in which the S has crisp, well-cut openings and is highly sought after by collectors. The Type 2 is significantly scarcer and appears mostly in late-year proof sets. In circulation strike coins, the San Francisco Mint also produced 1979 dollars, but these are generally less valuable unless found in exceptionally high grades such as MS 66 or MS 67, which are uncommon because SBA dollars, particularly from this early period, often show contact marks, weak luster, bag abrasions, or soft strikes around the rim and stars. Like all SBA dollars, the 1979 is made from a cupronickel-clad composition, consisting of copper at the core with outer layers of copper-nickel alloy, giving it a silver-gray appearance without containing any actual silver, an important distinction that often disappoints new collectors unfamiliar with modern U.S. minting alloys. Although billions of SBA dollars were produced across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco in 1979, the mint issues, especially proof versions, were assembled carefully in sets and therefore often survive in pristine condition. Nonetheless, condition and variety create wide separation in numismatic value. A standard 1979 business strike coin may be worth little more than face value unless in very high grade, while a proof Type 1 generally carries a modest premium, and a proof Type 2 can command a much higher price depending on grade, rarity, and demand. Collectors also appreciate the 1979 dollar for its historical significance. It was the first circulating U.S. coin to honor a real woman and remains a symbol of progress in gender representation on American currency. Despite its unpopularity in commerce due to confusion with quarters, the SBA dollar holds a unique place in American numismatics as a transitional piece between the large Eisenhower dollars and the golden Sacagawea dollars introduced in 2000. Its intricate design, sharp geometrical rim, and space-themed reverse echo both social history and the technological achievements of the 20th century. For anyone holding a 1979 SBA $1 coin, especially with a clear S-proof mint mark, the coin is not only a collectible artifact but also a compact historical document representing American ideals, liberty, trust, unity, innovation, civil rights, and the ongoing evolution of national coinage. Next top. The 1999 P. United States of America $1 coin is a significant and historically important issue within the Susan B. Anthony dollar series because it represents the final year of production for this coin, struck briefly to address an unexpected shortage of dollar coins in Federal Reserves just before the introduction of the Sacagawea golden dollar in 2000. As such, the 1999 release, produced only at Philadelphia and Denver and not at San Francisco for circulation, has a relatively low mintage compared to the heavy 1979, 1980, and 1981 outputs, making the Philadelphia P version a key date for collectors. The obverse of the 1999 P dollar features Frank Gasparo's portrait of Susan B. Anthony, the prominent suffragist who fought relentlessly for women's voting rights, shown facing right with a determined expression. Around her appear the inscriptions "Liberty" above, "In God We Trust" to the right, 1999 below, and the P mint mark positioned near the lower right side of her neckline, just above the distinctive hexagonal, 11-sided border that mimics the shape of a stop sign while remaining round in overall form. A design intended to help the coin feel and look different from a quarter, though in practice the similarity in size and color still caused confusion in circulation. The reverse, also designed by Gasparo, revisits the iconic imagery from the Eisenhower dollar, an American bald eagle landing on the lunar surface, wings spread slightly back, talons clutching an olive branch, with the moon's surface details beneath and a star-filled field above, all framed by the inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and the denomination $1. The 1999 PSBA dollar is made from the standard copper-nickel-clad composition, a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a silver-like appearance while containing no actual silver. Because the 1999 production run was highly compressed and executed mainly to fulfill immediate demand, the coins generally show sharp strikes, strong detail in Anthony's hair and the eagle's feathers, and a bold rim compared to earlier SBA years. However, like most clad coins, uncirculated examples are still prone to bag marks, contact scratches, and luster breaks from mass handling. Collectors value the 1999 P issue because it is the last business strike SBA dollar and because it had a much smaller mintage than earlier dates, resulting in noticeably higher premiums for specimens graded MS 65, MS 66, and especially MS 67, which are scarce and command collector attention due to the difficulty of finding flawless surfaces on this compact clad coin. Unlike 1979 and 1981 proofs, the 1999 P does not have major mintmark varieties such as Clear S or Filled S, but it does remain notable as a standalone modern key date and is one of the very few times the U.S. Mint resumed production of a discontinued design for emergency supply reasons. Historically, the 1999 P dollar also marks the transition point between two eras of American coinage. It was the closing chapter for the widely misunderstood and often unpopular SBA dollar, criticized for being too easily mistaken for a quarter, and the stepping stone to the 2000 Sacagawea dollar, which introduced a golden manganese brass-clad alloy and a more distinctive size and appearance. Because many 1999 P coins were used in vending systems, transportation payment kiosks, and military bases, truly pristine pieces were set aside largely by collectors and dealer rolls rather than by casual circulation. For modern numismatists, the 1999 PSBA dollar encapsulates a unique moment in U.S. monetary history, representing emergency minting, technological transition, and the final tribute in circulation coinage to Susan B. Anthony, whose legacy of equal rights, political courage, and social reform remains symbolically embedded in the coin's inscriptions: Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and E Pluribus Unum, all tied together in one small, distinct, and historically meaningful piece of American currency. Next.
Top.
The 1974 United States quarter dollar, featuring the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and E Pluribus Unum, is part of the long-running Washington Quarter series, first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. And the 1974 issue remains one of the many circulation strikes produced before the bicentennial redesign of 1975 to 1976. Although common today, it represents an important period in U.S. coinage history following the 1965 transition from 90% silver coins to copper-nickel-clad compositions, meaning that all regular 1974 quarters were made with a clad structure consisting of a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a total weight of 5.67 grams, a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, and a reeded edge. On the obverse, designed by sculptor John Flanagan, Washington faces left with the word Liberty arcing above his head, the motto "In God We Trust" placed to his lower left, and the date 1974 centered. Below his bust, on circulation strikes, a mint mark, either D for Denver or S for San Francisco, appears to the right of Washington's Q, though Philadelphia coins of this period carry no mint mark. On the reverse, also by Flanagan, an imposing heraldic eagle dominates the design, its wings outstretched, perched on a bundle of arrows that symbolize readiness and defense, with an olive branch below symbolizing peace. The country's name United States of America above, the national motto E Pluribus Unum directly under that, and the denomination quarter dollar curving at the bottom. The 1974 quarter is extremely common, with hundreds of millions struck, and it carries little numismatic premium unless found in exceptional conditions such as mint state 65 or higher, where luster surfaces, sharp details, and the absence of contact marks make well-preserved examples more valuable to collectors. Typical circulated examples are worth face value, but high-grade uncirculated pieces, especially those graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, may bring modest premiums, while rare errors, including double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and the extremely scarce accidental silver planchet errors caused by leftover blanks from 1970 to 1973 proof production, are the most sought after, with major minting mistakes sometimes selling for significant sums. Despite being a common date, the 1974 quarter represents the pre-bicentennial era of the Washington series and reflects the evolution of U.S. coinage following the shift away from precious metals as circulating coins, a change driven by rising silver prices and economic pressure during the 1960s, and its design continuity underscores the durability of Flanagan portrait, which remained the standard for over 70 years until the State Quarters program and the later redesign by Laura Garden Fraser. Because nearly all 1974 quarters have long since circulated heavily, finding a crisp, sharply struck example with original mint luster can be surprisingly challenging in pocket change, and collectors who seek fully detailed eagles or deeply frosted devices often turn to mint sets or unopened rolls. Although it is an everyday coin to most Americans, the 1974 quarter encapsulates a moment in mid-20th century U.S. monetary policy, artistry, and metal composition, continuing to serve as a tangible link to the economic, production, and aesthetic decisions of the period, and even an ordinary example remains an iconic representation of American coinage traditions, symbolism, and national identity. And next top, the 1984 United States Washington quarter dollar, bearing the familiar inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and E Pluribus Unum, is a copper-nickel-clad circulation coin produced at the Denver Mint, identifiable by the small d mint mark located to the right of George Washington's ponytail on the obverse. This coin belongs to the long-running Washington Quarter series, which began in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of Washington's birth and has since become one of the most widely recognized designs in American coinage history, with the 1984 issue representing the late Cold War era of U.S. currency production and the fully established post-silver composition that began in 1965. The 1984 quarter is composed of a copper core bonded between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a standard clad appearance with a silvery surface and a weight of 5.67 grams, a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, a thickness of approximately 1.75 millimeters, and a reeded edge of Around 119 reads. Its obverse, designed by John Flanagan, features a left-facing bust of George Washington based on Jean-Antoine Houdon's 18th-century sculpture, with the word liberty positioned prominently above his head, the motto "In God We Trust" engraved his lower left, and the year 1984 directly below the portrait. The Denver Mint's 1984 production was extraordinarily high, with hundreds of millions of these quarters entering circulation, making it a common date overall, yet high-grade. Examples remain surprisingly elusive because most were used extensively in commerce and acquired numerous abrasions, contact marks, and dulling of the original mint luster. On the reverse, also designed by Flanagan, a stately heraldic eagle dominates the field, perched atop a bundle of arrows symbolizing strength and readiness, while an olive branch lying beneath the arrows represents peace. And above the eagle appears the inscription United States of America with the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. Placed just below it, and the denomination $quarter curving along the bottom rim, the 1984 D quarter holds minimal value in circulated condition, typically worth its face value of 25 cents unless it possesses unusual characteristics, but in uncirculated mint state levels, particularly MS 65, MS 66, and higher, it becomes notably more desirable, as coins from this era often suffered from weak strikes or heavy bag marks due to the intensive production speeds of the mint during the 1980s. Exceptionally well-preserved 1984 D quarters exhibiting strong strikes, clean surfaces, full luster, and sharp details, especially on the eagle's feathers and Washington's hair, are far scarcer than the coin's huge mintage would suggest and can command collector premiums. Error coins from 1984 D also add significant interest to numismatists, including off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die clashes, filled die weakness, double rim errors, and the occasional dramatic misalignment. Because the U.S. Mint was not striking silver circulation quarters in 1984, genuine 1984, D silver errors are virtually non-existent, so any quarter appearing silver-colored but unusually light, magnetic, or unusually thick is more likely the result of a plating experiment, environmental damage, or a novelty alteration rather than a true mint error. Throughout the 1980s, the Denver Mint's output was essential for national commerce, meeting the needs of vending machines, retail establishments, transportation services, and billions of everyday transactions, and the 1984 D Washington quarter serves as a snapshot of this period of U.S. economic activity. Its design, unchanged for decades, continued to stand as the longest-running motif in U.S. quarter history until the year 1999. When the 50-state quarters program began replacing Flanagan reverse with state-themed designs, making the 1984 D part of the final era of classic Washington quarters. Although common in worn condition, this coin still holds historical and numismatic value as a representation of the country's monetary system, minting technology, artistic traditions, and economic patterns in the 1980s, and it remains a tangible, inexpensive way for collectors or history enthusiasts to hold a piece of everyday American heritage, reflecting the legacy of George Washington, the symbolism of the nation's eagle, and the enduring mottos "In God We Trust" and "E pluribus unum" that define the identity and unity of the United States. Next top. The 1986 United States of America Kennedy $half is a copper-nickel-clad coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint and represents the continuation of the $half series introduced in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy shortly after his assassination. On the obverse, the coin features a left-facing portrait of Kennedy created by Gilroy Roberts, capturing the youthful, confident, and idealistic expression that Americans associate with the late president. The portrait dominates the face of the coin and is surrounded by the large, bold inscription Liberty, a tradition rooted in America's earliest coinage and reflecting the foundational national ideal of freedom. Beneath Kennedy's chin and neck, in two sections divided by the base of his bust, appears the national motto "In God We Trust," which has appeared on U.S. currency for generations and was officially adopted as the country's motto in 1956. the phrase expresses the long-standing spiritual and cultural themes woven through American identity. Below the portrait sits the year 1986, marking the year of minting, and nearby, though often subtle, is the P Mint mark for Philadelphia, the oldest U.S. mint facility and one of the primary producers of circulating coinage. The reverse of the 1986 P half dollar, designed by Frank Gasparo, features a detailed adaptation of the presidential seal, with a majestic bald eagle displayed with its wings spread wide, symbolizing vigilance and national strength. The eagle's chest bears a shield with 13 stripes representing the original colonies. Tightly clasped in one talon is a bundle of arrows, demonstrating readiness to defend the nation, while in the other is an olive branch, representing the country's commitment to peace. Above the eagle, floating on a ribbon, appears the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. A phrase that conveys the idea of unity among the diverse states and peoples who form the United States. Surrounding the entire design is the inscription United States of America across the top and half dollar along the bottom, identifying both the issuing nation and the coin's denomination. The edge of the coin is reeded, giving it a textured rim that provides both a traditional aesthetic and a historical anti-counterfeiting measure. Unlike the earliest Kennedy half dollars, which were made of 90% silver, the 1986 P version is composed of a copper-nickel-clad alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel on the outer layers over a pure copper core, a standard composition for most U.S. circulating coins after 1971. The coin weighs approximately 11.34 grams and measures 30.6 millimeters in diameter, giving it a durable but lightweight feel compared to older silver issues. Although the half-dollar denomination once circulated commonly, by the 1980s it was used far less in everyday commerce, and many pieces from this period survive in relatively good condition because they saw limited wear. In terms of mintage, over 13 million 1986 P-halves were produced, making the coin widely available to collectors and hobbyists. As a result, its monetary value depends mostly on condition rather than rarity, with circulated examples generally worth around face value and uncirculated or well-preserved coins commanding a modest premium. Still, even as a common modern issue, the 1986 P. Kennedy half dollar carries rich historical symbolism. The portrait honors a president whose legacy left a lasting cultural impact. The eagle design represents the authority of the office Kennedy occupied, and the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and E pluribus unum tie the coin to the nation's most enduring principles: freedom, faith, unity, and the balance between peace and strength. When held in hand, the coin serves not only as a piece of currency, but as a compact, enduring emblem of American history, artistry, and national identity reflected through its inscriptions, imagery, and craftsmanship. Next top. The 1996 P. United States Kennedy half dollar is part of a long-running series first introduced in 1964 as a circulating commemorative to honor President John F. Kennedy following his assassination in 1963, and the 1996 Philadelphia minted issue continues this heritage with a design that combines national symbolism, modern minting technology, and the evolving history of American coinage. On the obverse of the 1996 P half dollar appears the portrait of President Kennedy sculpted by Gilroy Roberts, the ninth chief engraver of the U.S. Mint, whose design was originally adapted from the presidential medal created shortly before Kennedy's death. Roberts' portrait is known for its strong lines, forward-facing profile, and dignified appearance, capturing the youthful vitality Kennedy represented to many Americans. The inscriptions on the obverse include Liberty, which arcs across the top of the coin in bold capital letters symbolizing the nation's foundational ideals, and the motto, In God We Trust, positioned horizontally to Kennedy's lower left chin in keeping with the modern layout used throughout the series. Beneath the truncation of the neck appears the date 1996, indicating the year of issue, and just above the date is the P Mint mark, identifying that this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which had resumed placing its mint mark on half dollars after 1980, when all circulating U.S. coins began routinely bearing mint marks again. The reverse of the 1996 P half dollar features Frank Gasparo's adaptation of the presidential seal, a heraldic American eagle with a shield on its breast, wings displayed, and grasping in its talons both an olive branch symbolizing peace and a bundle of arrows representing readiness for defense, a blend of national ideals first established in the Great Seal of the United States. Surrounding the eagle are 50 stars that represent the states of the Union, arranged around the central imagery in a manner that balances formality with symbolism. Above the eagle runs the motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one, expressing the unity of the states into one nation, a phrase with deep roots in early American identity. Encircling the reverse are the legends, United States of America at the top and $50 at the bottom, denoting the issuing country and denomination. The 1996 P. Kennedy half is struck from the standard clad composition adopted in 1971, a copper-nickel alloy consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to an inner core of pure copper, giving the coin its characteristic silver-gray appearance with a visible copper edge. It has a diameter of 30.61 millimeters, a weight of 11.34 grams, and a reeded edge, specifications typical of modern half dollars. By 1996, widespread circulation of half dollars had diminished significantly in everyday commerce due to changing transaction habits, vending machine incompatibility, and shifting consumer preference. So, although the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of them, relatively few entered daily circulation, and many were distributed directly to banks, collectors, or remained in storage. As a result, typical 1996 P. Kennedy halves are often found in higher grades than older, heavily circulated examples from earlier decades. While not considered rare, the coin serves as an important marker in the later years of the circulating Kennedy series, bridging the period between the high mintage, heavily circulated issues of the 1960s and the collector-focused production decades that followed. Collectors value the 1996 P. half dollar primarily for its place in a complete year-by-year set of Kennedy halves, for variety study, and for its representation of the long-standing tradition of presidential representation on circulating U.S. coinage. The mottos, In God We Trust, and E pluribus unum, along with the portrait of President Kennedy and the presidential seal reverse, make the 1996 P. half dollar a compact summary of American identity, combining national ideals, artistic portraiture, and minting history into a single piece of circulating currency. Though common and easily obtainable, the coin encapsulates the blend of symbolism, craftsmanship, and historical continuity that defines modern American numismatics, and it remains a meaningful keepsake for those interested in U.S. coin history, presidential memorabilia, or the cultural legacy surrounding one of the nation's most iconic leaders.